Minecraft isn't just for kids, and neither is a Minecraft movie, but the big screen adaptation of the iconic video game is full of little moments that only adults will likely notice. Here's what we've dug up so far.
Go on! Get out of here!
It's probably asking for trouble to try to find any consistency in a Minecraft movie, but we're genuinely curious what that old miner's deal was at the very beginning. We first meet Steve as a child who yearns for the mines, but his efforts are hampered by an old miner and a sign that reads, "Absolutely no children allowed." We suppose it's good the old miner is so dedicated to enforcing child labor laws. Steve returns to the mine as an adult, and the old miner still has a problem with him. With a full beard, he's very clearly not a child any longer, which appeared to have been the reason for his reluctance to let him in the mine. The miner even attacks Steve, forcing him to jump out of the way to finally enter his glorious mine. So, what's the deal? Why not let adult Steve mine? It's a funny gag, but it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Maybe the old miner's just trying to ensure that he doesn't run afoul of his union, or that Steve doesn't get himself or others killed, chipping away at rocks where he shouldn't. The beginning of a Minecraft movie mainly just serves to get Steve into the overworld as quickly as possible. He discovers the Orb of Dominance and Earth Crystal pretty much immediately, allowing him to open a portal. Steve needs to find these items because he's the main character, but that old miner and others like him have probably been working in the mines for decades at this point. How did they never find these items? Steve only has to chip away at one wall slightly to uncover it. So one would assume the miner would have already found every treasure that could be down there. Perhaps the angry old miner just isn't interested in glowing blue cubes. He has a job to do, to mine for coal, and that's apparently his sole focus. He's not going to take on extra work for nothing, and honestly, we can respect that mindset. Clock in, clock out, get your bag, king. Kids love tater tots, but they might not understand the tot references in a Minecraft movie. Directed by Jared Hess of Napoleon Dynamite fame, for a brief period in 2004, everyone was wearing Vote for Pedro t-shirts and asking each other for tots.
Pauline, give me some of your tots.
No, go find your own.
Come on, give me some of your tots.
No, I'm freaking starved. I didn't get to eat anything today.
Hess seemingly pays tribute to his cult hit in a Minecraft movie with several references to the beloved snack. Natalie makes a tater tot pizza for Henry to enjoy, and later in the film, Henry uses a single tot as a component of a tater tot gun once he learns how to craft in the overworld. Tater tots aren't the only connective tissue, as Henry and Napoleon also both share a love of doodling. The scenes in the real world also certainly feel visually akin to Hess's in Napoleon Dynamite, but that's not the only place where he may have laid out some references. When Garrett the Garbage Man Garrison takes on the chicken jockey, they're in a wrestling ring, which feels like a nod to Hess's 2006 film Nacho Libre, also starring Jack Black. A Minecraft movie may be rated PG, but there's plenty of scenes involving skeletons and zombies that may scare younger kids. However, there's something much darker at play that the movie just glosses over. At one point, a piglin kiddo shows the piglin queen a drawing. She promptly stabs the child, turning him into a freshly cooked slab of meat, simply for expressing himself creatively, something she hates. She may be the villain, but killing a kid is pretty dark, even if it is a piglin kid. And this isn't the only recent video game adaptation to go dark. Sonic the Hedgehog 3 featured the death of Maria Robotnik, but that was at least canon in the games. It kickstarts Shadow's journey into villainy, and is something he has to address to become one of the good guys. But the death of that little piglin served no plot purpose. We already knew the piglin queen was evil. Killing and presumably eating a child seems a bit too dark for a film aimed squarely at youngsters. A Minecraft movie features a host of pop culture references that might fly over some kids' heads. Garrett has a Beetlejuice poster in his video game shop, and the reason the Piglin Queen is evil is because she was ridiculed on a game show called Nether's Got Talent, which takes its title from America's Got Talent. However, the most delightful reference comes when Henry, Garrett, Natalie, and Dawn first meet Steve. Even though Garrett wants to be in charge of the Orb of Dominance, Dawn hands it to Henry, saying how he has those good Frodo vibes. This Lord of the Rings reference is appropriate, given that Henry is being entrusted to carry an immensely powerful object. But Sebastian Hansen also looks remarkably similar to a young Elijah Wood, who played Frodo in Peter Jackson's The Lord of the Rings trilogy. In a B-plot that's completely irrelevant to the main story, we see a villager named Nitwit escape into the real world. While walking on the road, he's hit by Vice Principal Marlene, who takes a liking to the big-headed Minecraft character.
Your head is huge.
In the end, Nitwit proposes to Marlene, who's over the moon about her upcoming nuptials, so much so that tiny cartoon hearts appear around her. In the world of Minecraft, tiny hearts appear around animals to signify that they are ready to breed. Of course, younger members who play Minecraft will know what these hearts signify and get a laugh out of the idea of the vice principal starting a family with the villager. But for the grown-ups in the audience who know all about Jennifer Coolidge's history of playing raunchy characters, it's the baby-making part that comes to mind. Throughout his scenes, Nitwit speaks in the villager language, Standard Villic. It's basically a bunch of gibberish that Marlene nonetheless takes a liking to. It only takes one day and the power of love for Nitwit to speak in perfect English, with a thick British accent no less. The adults in the crowd should undoubtedly recognize that voice as belonging to Matt Berry. Berry has a lengthy filmography, bringing in his signature talents to shows like The IT Crowd, Portlandia, and Community. But it really was What We Do in the Shadows where he made a name for himself in the US. His unusual inflections turned his character Laszlo into a fan-favorite meme machine.
You took it by force from me in New York City.
One can't help but wonder if Nitwit was originally supposed to have a heftier part in the film. Matt Berry's casting in a Minecraft movie was announced in May 2023, which feels way too far in advance for a simple cameo. Either way, we hope Berry can deliver more meme-worthy lines in a potential sequel. To escape an oncoming piglin horde, Steve equips Garrett and Henry with wings, called elytra, so that they can jump off a cliff safely. Henry has a blast, but Steve has to hop on Garrett's back to escape the army because he doesn't have a third set. There are a couple of things to note for this scene. The first is that when we see Steve triumphantly riding on Garrett's back, he's holding Garrett's long, luscious locks like they're reins. Visually, it's reminiscent of how characters would ride dragons in Game of Thrones, which also starred Jason Momoa. The other thing adults will notice about the elytra scenes is that it's filled with double entendres. Garrett doesn't appreciate Steve riding on his back, but Steve's response is, "Just relax, let my hips guide you." Later in the flight, Garrett and Steve need to go through a tiny hole in a mountain, and the only way they can do that is to make a full man sandwich. That means Steve positions himself so his face is in Garrett's crotch, and vice versa. Kids will probably think it's just goofy, but adults may see it reenacting a certain numbered position. When Steve, Garrett, and Henry arrive at the Woodland Mansion, they need to acquire an Earth Crystal to reopen the portal. And Henry also wants to grab an Ender Pearl, which allows the thrower to teleport to where they throw the object. But if Henry's going to sneak past the inhabitants, Steve and Garrett need to cause a distraction, and the result is a recreation of one of Jack Black's best talk show moments. Steve and Garrett burst through the doors wearing mushroom hats and playing saxophones. It's yet another Steve musical in a film that has a surprising quantity of them. But seeing Black hold a saxophone may make some viewers remember a 2018 appearance the actor had on The Tonight Show starring Jimmy Fallon, where Black played a toy saxophone in the style he would often do at Tenacious D concerts.
1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, mother.
Some of the language from Black's performance may not be suitable for the primary demographic of a Minecraft movie, but it's fun for the adults to remember it. Piglins live in the nether rather than the overworld because if they get exposed to sunlight, they zombify and then die. The Piglin Queen wants the orb because it will allow her to block out the sun and allow the piglins to rule the overworld. Adults in the audience may recall that that's very similar to a plan Mr. Burns had at one point on The Simpsons.
When he tried to steal our sunlight, he crossed that line between everyday villainy and cartoonish supervillainy.
The heroes create an assortment of weapons and tools to take on the Piglin army, with Henry ultimately getting to the orb and bringing the sun back, defeating the Piglins once and for all. The Piglins are the bad guys, but still, the way Henry, Steve, and others beat them is by wiping out every last one of them. This is essentially a Piglin genocide, and we saw that some wanted to express themselves creatively, like the young one killed earlier in the film. It seems like some of the Piglins could have been rehabilitated. It's ultimately pretty jarring to see everyone cheering and hugging one another as Piglins perish around them. The Piglin Queen is evil all the way through. A scene when she repeatedly tries to stab Steve at the end. It wouldn't be bad if she just died. After all, there have been some genuinely disturbing deaths in kids' films before. It's possible some piglins stay behind in the Nether, but if not, an entire race was just wiped out in an instant. It sort of feels like the themes of a Minecraft movie aren't done by the ending. The main characters, including Steve, decide to go back to Earth where they turn their blocky adventure into a game. Instead of calling it Minecraft, they name it Block City Battle Buddies. Henry goes back to school, but everyone seems to like him now since he did, in fact, get a jetpack to work. In his free time, he works on the game's circuit boards. Garrett's business is booming once again. Natalie teaches self-defense. Dawn opens a petting zoo. Everything works out for everyone in the end, and it seems to be the end of their money problems. We definitely don't want to begrudge anyone making a living, but the whole point of a Minecraft movie up until that point was that people should pursue their passions even if they don't necessarily make the money. And that's precisely what happens to Steve. He has an unfulfilling doorknob salesman job at the beginning, but then goes into mining because that's what he always wanted. If Steve's dream is to mine, why does he even leave with the others and take on singing gigs with Garrett in his shop? Everyone should have something they're passionate about, whether it's painting, music, or building an entire universe in Minecraft. It would be awesome to make money doing any of them, but sometimes you need a regular job to pursue what you really want to do. A Minecraft movie ends by showing everyone profiting, which is great, but shouldn't be the endgame. In just one weekend, a Minecraft movie made more than $160 million. It could very well hit the $1 billion mark at the box office, and yet its ultimate message, surprisingly, is not to play more Minecraft. The film instead encourages its young audience to actually get out of the overworld once in a while. That's definitely not a bad thing. Kids absolutely need to spend some of their time away from screens, outside those digital minds. It's just a little unusual to see a piece of entertainment based on a product do anything but promote that product. Maybe the filmmakers took a page out of the Barbie playbook.
Maybe you're self-effacing, Barbie? Maybe I'm not Barbie anymore.
It's subtle enough that the younger audience members maybe didn't even catch on to what the final scenes are implying. A post-credit scene shows Steve going back to his old house to see Alex living there. He wants to grab some of his old gear. It's clear Steve's entry to the real world is temporary. He and Alex will probably venture into the overworld in the likely sequel. Steve pursued his creativity in the overworld, but then realized he needed to take a break to forge friendships. Video games can be fun, but they shouldn't come at the expense of the real-life people around us.